one time I got recommended this like positive frequency, and like I was kind of skeptical, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I waited. I was like, I'm gonna wait till a moment I'm upset, and I'm gonna turn on this frequency and see what happens. So turn it on, and it worked. And I was like, huh,
It's
like,
weird.
maybe there's something with these frequencies. Like, let me start looking more into this. Outside of your physical body, you like consciously can like observe something, and they use this to like spy on Russia, to find tanks, to like find submarines, right? So I'm like, if the CIA is using this, all this research is using this, why isn't there like a platform for this? Why are people just going to YouTube to tap into this, right?
Yeah.
And, yeah.
Well, everyone, welcome back to Success Rewritten. I'm your host, Emily Lamenza-Washkovic, and today I have with me Jay Johnson Jr. Jay is the founder of High Frequency Highway, and I'm really excited to not only talk about your business, but just your journey building the business. So Jay, thanks for coming.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm so excited to meet you in person and have this conversation.
I'm really glad we could do this in person. We thought we were going to do it remote, but I decided to come to LA, and I'm really glad that you wanted to shoot together.
Yeah.
I'm so excited to talk about your business and how you got to where you are today. But before we even dive into that, why don't you tell everyone a little bit about yourself? Like, who is Jay? What's kind of the high level arc of your story?
Yeah, for sure. I'm an athlete, entrepreneur, documenting my journey, of maximizing the human potential. I started entrepreneurship at a very young age at 14, and then ended up being number one in the nation for track at 17, then moving to Silicon Valley, scaling AI startups, building my own, having success, failures, and like documenting it all on social media. So, I would say like I'm a multidimensional athlete is what I like to call it.
I love it. And I remember when you first reached out to me, I was like, oh, cool, he has this business. But I really was interested in this whole journey you've had as an athlete. I think for so many people, they don't really understand that when you cross that threshold from just doing things as a hobby into, professionally competing, it is a lot, not only on your body physically, but mentally. I mean, it's very demanding. Can you talk about what that felt like when you first started kind of realizing you were such a great athlete?
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's always been my mindset. I think it always starts mind over matter. So like, I like to do the maximum potential as I can, right? So like in high school, wanted to go D1 and then wanted to go to the Olympics as soon as I started track, like setting those goals high for myself so I can put in the work to like achieve those goals. And kind of have to embody that early on. When you have those sort of goals, it's like, okay, I got to eat right. I got to work out more. I got to do the things that actually get me there. I can't just like say it. I got to be about it and apply the things that I'm talking about.
Did you have a good mentor when you were younger that kind of fostered this interest that you had in athletics?
Like I didn't have like a set mentor.
Yeah.
I think I grew up very being able to do things on my own. Like my parents were usually at work, so I always like went to YouTube and like online, mentors, you could say, and just like getting information online and learning from people online. And I think we're blessed to be in that generation where that was actually a thing. Because one generation before that, that wasn't a thing. So like just being able to go on Google and YouTube and just like learn how the things are done and then just like simply applying those things to be successful.
I remember when you first reached out, I was like, wow, I think Jay is going to be my youngest guest and my youngest entrepreneur that I've had on here. And I'm flattered that you think we both grew up with the internet at a young age. That was not my necessary reality. But I think it's so interesting to me that you did have this not only interest and curiosity, but like you were building your own gaming app basically when you were in your early teens. So you've always been interested in like tech and just connected to the online world. Talk to me about where that came from or how that started.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it started off with video games, right? And playing video games, it just led me into becoming an entrepreneur, like on accident.
Yeah.
Right? Because there were these like certain teams you could join in Call of Duty. and these teams would have YouTube channels, right?
Ah.
And since I was younger, I wasn't like the best at the game, but I was like, oh, you can join these teams as like graphic designers, video editors. Like, let me try to like learn these things so that way I can have a chance to be on these teams. So ended up teaching myself like graphic design, video editing, and then that led into social media where I was like, okay, like I want to start growing on social media. Ended up growing a huge following on Instagram and Vine and wanted to leverage that. And I knew I had a love for games. And at the time, there was two big trends. It was Flappy Bird, which everybody was addicted to, and then Kanye. So I ended up like just combining those two and like using my graphic design skills to like create the assets for the app, building out the app, just learned from YouTube, right? And then I literally had to borrow $100 from my mom to even get the Apple developer account to like get my app on the App Store. So got that, ended up pushing it to the App Store, using my social media to market it and promote it, and ended up hitting number 7 on paid entertainment apps. And at the time, I didn't really know what I was doing. In my head, I'm like, this is like a meme.
You were like 14, right?
Yeah, I was 14 and I was just like, this is like a meme to me. And like, of course, I had to learn some things to like get it done, but it really did show me the power of online money, social media, and being early to the trends.
That's so awesome. Okay, I want to talk about ADHD. I personally wasn't diagnosed until my 30s, but you kind of had this ADHD journey that really goes right into this business that you currently run.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about your journey with ADHD?
Yeah. So I got diagnosed like in between my summer from high school to college.
Okay.
So transitioning into college, I was diagnosed. And when I got to college, I started taking the meds. And for me, this biggest side effect was like I couldn't eat the way that I needed
to feel your body.
Yep, exactly. So like after I take the meds, I literally would not eat the whole day. And for me, like training, especially as a sprinter, you need to be explosive, you need tons of energy, ATP and things of that nature. So that was like a huge downfall for me. I would try to like load up as much food as possible in the morning before I take it, and then kind of rely on that for the rest of the day. So I really started to look for alternatives. And, that's what led me to tapping into the power of sound and frequency.
Yeah. Okay, before we get into the sound and frequency stuff, talk to me about what led you to get a diagnosis. Like, what were some of the things that you were experiencing that made you kind of dig deeper and figure out that you have ADHD? Do you remember what it felt like back then?
Oh, yeah. Like, I was very much scattered brain. I would always hop from one thing to the next thing. And I literally, like, it was hard for me to read one page of a book without having to go back and like reread the whole page, right? So small things like that. And, I was like the smartest in school either. So I think all of those things correlated into me, like, of course, like trying to get checked out for ADHD because my other people were like, yo, you should do this. Like, you clearly have ADHD. And I was like, oh, I do? Like, because nobody in my family had ever got diagnosed with it before. So,
totally.
It wasn't like a thing where it's like, oh, we need to get you checked out. It was like, I was like the first in my family to really get, ADHD medication.
I joke all the time that I didn't know until my 30s, but like my mom totally has ADHD. She doesn't think she does, but she does.
Yeah.
And there's this element of like, when you grow up in certain environments, you don't feel it necessarily depending on what the foundation is, right? Like, I feel like when I was younger, I just had so many activities and I had this pressure to like do well. And so I couldn't tell that I struggled with executive function. And then as I got older, it was like, oh, I need like real systems or I like fall apart, you know? And I think it's interesting because we can kind of go so long without realizing that we have something. And then when you learn about it, it's almost like, or for me, it was like a light bulb. And I started looking at things in the past like, oh, that makes sense. Or I understand that now. Did you kind of feel that way? Like the diagnosis explained some things that you had been feeling?
Yeah, for sure. And then when I started to take it, I just started to feel normal. Like I was like, wow, like I can sit here and like do something without like, you know, switching the subject or not remembering and, losing less things, right? So
Yeah.
it gave me a sense of like normalcy.
Hmm. And something that I think is interesting is like you were experiencing two things at the same time. It was the medication was helping you in this one regard, but it was really negatively impacting what you wanted to do with your physical side and the athletics. And so that must have been so frustrating to feel like you found a solution that sort of worked, but was holding you back in another area.
Mhm.
How did you then start like looking for alternatives? Do you remember what that exploratory period looked like before you discovered the sound?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it started off with just trying to wean off of it,
Mm,
right?
mm-hmm,
So taking it every other day and then seeing how my body would react. And then led into like taking it like when I needed it, like as needed,
mm-hmm,
basically.
mm-hmm.
But my first thing was like meditation. Like I want to like meditate. That was something that was like my daily practice to try to combat my ADHD because I heard
Mm-hmm.
like that could help. There wasn't a real like A to B, like, okay, I'm going to get off these meds and then do this. It was more of like, I need to get off of this. Let me just slowly start to,
Yeah.
and then see how my body react, right? I like doing these internal case studies with myself of
Mm.
like, okay, this is what like this is the cause of this. Let me see if I can try this and then how my body reacts and kind of self-reflect on the options I take. So I was kind of doing that with my ADHD meds and slowly like trying to get off of them, but started to realize like, okay, maybe I need to just do it once a week and kind of went back and forth with like how much I needed to take it until I truly found another solution.
An
Because
alternative.
yeah, I
Yeah.
think you always need something. Um, like if you're taking something away, you need something to replace that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm. Okay. One other question before we get into the high frequency sound. When you were going through this period of trying different things, you were a college athlete. I mean, I don't think a lot of people understand the strenuous like schedule and everything.
oh yeah, and I joined a fraternity
Oh my
in the
gosh,
middle of all
Jay.
that. Like it was a grind for sure.
Okay, so I mean, I'm thinking about myself in college. Like, you were already so aware and trying things out. And I was not like, I had no idea about mental health when I was in college. But the speed and like, you're just going through things with, all these other people. But being an athlete, I mean, you're so busy. Like, if people have never seen D1 athletic schedules, they don't understand. Like
Yeah.
lifting, practicing, team meals. I mean, give someone a sense of what that's like because mental health or not, it's stressful on anyone who's going through that, going to school and being a D1 athlete.
Yeah, I mean, I could give you the rundown. Like it was like Tuesdays we would wake up at like 5, be at the weight training at 6, be done at like 7, have class at 8:30. So I got to shower, get ready for class, go to class at 8:30, and then from there try to get breakfast, and then breakfast, then you got to tutor, and tutor next class, and then after that class you got practice. Then after that, you got dinner, and then maybe another class, and then like I said, I was also pledging. So like after all that, my day's done, but now I gotta like go to the frat house and do whatever they say. And it was like I was a very like no BS, right? It's like you wake up, you do the things you need to do, get them done, and you don't complain.
That's
You
it. That's
know?
it. Yeah.
So during that time, the meds were great. I was
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I just need to lock in completely, right? And then also, little fun fact, I wasn't the best student when I first got there. So like after my second or third semester, they actually started to track me and made sure I was in class. So I had to
Mm,
be in class on time. So it's not
mm,
like some people's experience, like you could just skip class.
right.
Me, like there was no skipping class. I had to be there on time and for the full class. So that was like another component where it's like sometimes I would actually just go to class and just go to sleep.
Oh,
Like I would just like go
okay.
there and then just like sleep. And then the teacher
Yeah.
started like to get mad at that, of course. But like that was what I had to do in those times. But yeah, the schedules are very strenuous, and then you got to travel in
Yeah.
a season, and that's part of the reason why I was like, I need to take a gap year. I need to go to Silicon Valley. I need to stop running here because this is not fulfilling my highest potential. I'm using all my time and energy for something where I can't even get paid at the time. You know, it's just like I have too many skill sets and aspirations to just do what you want me to do without any compensation. Right? I
Yeah.
mean, I got free education, but at the end of the day, AI is like, you don't really like, you know, the
Yeah,
degree
it's a
is
different
there,
world.
but it's like, all right, like
Yeah.
I know my capabilities. I can build companies now, right?
Mhm.
So
Mhm. Okay, so you left.
mhm.
You get to Silicon Valley, but at this point, you already knew about sound frequency and how it was like jiving really well with your brain. So
Mhm.
let's dig into that. You were telling me earlier, YouTube was kind of how you also discovered high frequency.
Shout out YouTube.
Like literally, you are, I mean, you should be on commercials telling everyone how
YouTube
much you can learn.
University.
Yeah. Okay, so what was that like? You discover this new thing. You had been meditating and you said that YouTube kind of started serving up different sound frequencies to you. And then you started researching it a little bit. How did that discovery journey go of like that became a tool for you?
I remember my first time ever tapping into it was like one time I got recommended this like positive frequency, and like I was kind of skeptical, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I waited. I was like, I'm gonna wait till a moment I'm upset and I'm gonna turn on this frequency and see what happens. So my ex-girlfriend, I was like outside of her place and I was upset, and I was like, oh, that positive frequency, like let me try that. Turn it on, and it worked. And I was like, huh,
It's
like
weird.
maybe there's something with these frequencies. Like, let me start looking more into this, and started to discover like different frequencies can influence the brain. Discovered like binaural beats, and then there's this like quote unquote famous case study called the Gateway Experience, where this is like a declassified CIA document where they actually talk about using binaural beat frequencies to remote view, which is basically viewing something remotely. So like literally outside of your physical body, you like consciously can like observe something, and they use this to like spy on Russia, to find tanks, to like find submarines, right? So I'm like, if the CIA is using this, all this research is using this, why isn't there like a platform for this? Why are people just going to YouTube to tap into this, right?
Yeah.
And yeah.
Okay, so explain to people just a little bit about what it is. I mean, if they try it, they're going to know right away, but explain to people how it works a little bit, and then we'll show them.
Yeah, so it's something called binaural beats. So you have two frequencies going on, and they're slightly different frequencies, and they meet together in the middle of your brain to create this, what they call a hemisync. And it starts to entrain your brain to shift into that state. Because you have to think about all of these things as like fluids, like invisible fluids. And imagine a fluid like a stream of waves, literally, then your brain wants to match that stream of waves, right? So, because your brain always wants to be in this like homeostasis. So it's going to match whatever you put inside of it. And frequency is the language of your brain. Like they even track different brainwave states with hertz. So like alpha is like 8 to 12 hertz because you're tracking the neurons firing and how fast those waves are firing across your brain. So, you know, that's like the science behind it.
Yeah. Okay, so you started getting into this, you figured out what sounds you liked, and then you're like, we need to put this in one place so that people can explore the different types and learn about it. I mean, that's what I think is cool about your app is you can learn a little bit about what different frequencies might do. Like you can put a mood in there and it'll tell you kind of what might be something to try out. Talk to me about the development of the app. I mean, you were using it yourself, but then you're thinking beyond yourself. Like, I got to make this resource. I guess you built an app when you were 14, so it didn't seem that crazy, but
Yeah.
it's a big endeavor to like make an entire app based on something that not a lot of people are even educated about. How did you get started building the app?
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to make it easy, so easy that a baby could use it. So like the initial like phase one of it was you open it, you just click a frequency,
Mm-hmm.
right? You had the emoji, had the name of the frequency,
That
and
was
like
it.
boom, like abundance. You want positivity, you want love, boom. Just like open the app, click it, no ads, no distractions,
Mm-hmm.
just like easy way to tap into frequency. And then we developed the binaural beat feature, which enabled customization of binaural beats. So you could go in there and type in any frequency that you wanted or any state that you wanted, and it'll generate the frequency from your device. So something cool that we do is we don't stream the sound. Like it's not an MP3 file. It's not something that we're getting from the internet. It's oscillated frequency. So what that means is it's the natural way that sound propagates through space. So we're counting the cycles per second, which calculates the hertz, right? So what was cool about that is that it enabled us to open up into entirely like the world, right? Because one, numbers are, transcend language. And then two, you don't need any Wi-Fi or cellular. So even, the small country in Africa to, the middle of Asia, people were using our app to tap into these frequencies because you didn't need any Wi-Fi. You didn't need a good connection. You just needed the app. So once the app scaled to every country on the planet, that's when I was like, we have to create our own wearable.
Okay. First of all, I just have to crack up at the fact that I was showing my millennial colors so much when I was texting you. Like, what do you do when you're like traveling on the go? And you're like, Emily, I just wear them on my neck. Like, oh yeah, duh. So that's what I did. But I felt like such a millennial when I asked you that. Okay. These are so cool. But I do think it's important to note, like when you started, it was just an app. And then you had this kind of business idea of like, let's add this other element that expanded the business a lot. Like if we're talking about entrepreneurship, this was like a hockey stick moment for your brand.
For sure.
But talk to me about developing a product. Like, first of all, it takes so much time, resources, like even to make a prototype, I feel like is a big leap for a lot of people. What did you take away from the process, or what was it like for you?
I mean, my takeaway is that it was divinely guided. I feel like my journey was accelerated due to the way that it came about, and I'll explain the story. So, I decided, okay, let's make a wearable, and started doing R&D. And after a couple months, I actually finally got our prototype. And then the week that I got our prototype, I get a message from Alibaba, and they're like, we're having this event in Vegas called Co-Create, because I'm also a content creator. Like I get certain partnerships, and they're like, we're looking for influencers to like show off a product. You have a product that you would like to present. And, I had like, because I run track and field, as you know, I also had the sock brand, like it's called Speed Sock. So they were like reaching out about that.
Wait, I didn't know about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like anything I'm doing now. So,
but it's crazy. Okay, keep going.
So I had this like other like small apparel, like speed socks. They're like, oh, like we see your speed sock, blah, blah, blah. I was like, no, I actually have this new product, frequency headphones. Like, let's talk about it. So I got into a meeting with them. I explained it, and they were like, wow, it's fascinating. Come to Las Vegas. So they, fund my entire trip to Las Vegas. And I was able to present this prototype in front of 4,000 people.
Crazy.
Right. And one of the people that was one of the judges was the CEO of Kickstarter.
Wait, was it Everett at the time?
Yep.
Gosh, I love him. Okay, keep going.
Yeah, so he tried it. He literally felt like he got transported off the stage is what he said. And after he was like, yo, we got to launch this on Kickstarter. So
I didn't know. Oh, yeah. Jay, keep going.
So we ended up getting a partnership with Kickstarter. And, we were on the projects we love, full email blast out, or whatever. And, we did a launch event in Dubai for the Kickstarter, and we were funded in the first month and a half. And then from there, I got invited to this JP Morgan healthcare conference. And it was like the top floor of Salesforce Tower in San Francisco. Was able to have my one prototype at the time, still just one prototype. And we had billionaires love it and pre-order the device.
Amazing.
So within literally 2 months of having the prototype, we were fully funded, billionaires using it, top CEOs using it, and ready to produce. And now we're shipping, over 1,000 a month. and we're scaling the company. So it's just like I had a pretty like I would say is extremely lucky that all those things played out from a point where I was able to go from prototype to shipping them out in like 7 months.
Which is insane. That's insane. I mean,
Yeah.
most people are doing a year of like prototype product production, and that doesn't even like, no matter what the product is, let alone a technology device. I mean, it's so cool that you were able to get in front of those audiences and really, expand it. But it also speaks to the product and what this high frequency does.
Yeah, and I want this to kind of like having a personal brand is such a vital thing that, people like entrepreneurs, some may not see the benefit, but the amount of resources and connections I've been able to have because of that has accelerated my journey. It may not be directly correlated to revenue, but the quantum leaps that it provides is something that you can't really put a number on,
And that's from documenting your journey. I mean, really talking to people about what you're going through. I feel like that comes a little naturally because of your generation, but what would you say to people who like, that's their holdup? They're afraid to start talking online about whatever they're doing.
I mean, I would just say don't overthink it.
Yeah.
Do the things you already do and record it. Talk to your younger self. That was like always my take on content, right? And how my content blew up. It was just like educating my younger self. What would I want to know if I was 13 or 14, right? And how can I help my younger self? And just talk to that person, and you'll be amazed how much content starts to come to your head.
Yeah. Okay. So now, I mean, you're a full-blown entrepreneur. I was just telling you outside, I see you're hustling. I've been seeing you flying all over the place, doing all sorts of things. How have you been managing that with just like your mental health, ADHD, and also you're still a competitive athlete? Like you have a lot going on. How do you kind of maintain balance or find that grounding that you need?
Yeah, good question. I think it comes from a point of like knowing my mission, knowing my why, and that ignites that energy within me to do the things that may not feel like I want to do, but I have to or need to do it because I need to complete this mission, right? And I think another thing that really helps me is I don't go below neutral, right? I don't allow external things to affect my like emotional state to where I'm angry or envious or sad. Like it's just like I like to be very extremely logical, but then also optimistic. And like my girlfriend was telling me yesterday, actually, somebody stole my bike from like my garage, and she's just like you should be upset, like blah blah blah. And I was just like, I help somebody in need.
That's
it's just
such a wild, like the fact that you could get to that mindset so quickly shows you've been doing work. I mean, no one just does that naturally. That's work.
Yeah. And I just like come from life in that point of view of just like, if you have enough empathy and you can, think logically about something, you don't go below neutral because like, what's the point? Right? Like it just sets you back a notch. And now you can't do the things it's going to take you out the energy that you need to actually achieve the things you want to do. So, those are a couple of things. And of course, I always like to set aside time for my wellness. I don't like to overwork myself.
Yeah, that's great advice. Okay, I need to know what your favorite stuff is. I'm going to make you do it on my app. Yeah. I want you to set up how you would listen to it. Okay, so first of all,
let's do a demo right here.
Let me just say, by the way, I was wearing these all day yesterday. They're very comfortable. And you can also listen to other stuff. It's not like these only work with your app. So I want everyone to know that. Because yesterday there was points where I was listening and messing around with different sound. And there was other points where I was like, I'm going to listen to an Olivia Dean song. And I just kept these on, Okay, so first of all, I also like the design.
Thank you.
What was your, are these the kind of headphones you've always liked, ones that don't go in your ear?
These are my first pair.
No, I mean,
like
before you had your own headphones, what kind of headphones?
I would normally listen to just regular Apple.
Okay, in your ear.
Yeah.
But this design, I feel like it's really good just in general for people who don't like something in their ear. But it also is based on what the app is doing, the high frequency, right?
Yeah,
this is kind of designed for
I like it because you can have conversations.
Totally.
You can be aware of your surroundings. So Very versatile.
Okay. The High Frequency Highway app, in my little video I made at home, I said that I love the logo. It's like the sun on a purple landscape. And I was just saying when we were outside, I love the opening phrase. You'll know it by heart. What is it?
Yeah, it's you live life differently when you're at a high frequency. And that's true.
It is true. And I just every time I opened it yesterday, I was like, oh, that's so nice. Okay.
So are they on?
Yep. I just turned them on, but let's make sure my Bluetooth is connected. Yep. Okay. It's connected. So now I need you to put what's your favorite one?
Yeah, I'm gonna show you the vibes. So camera.
Oh.
Yep.
What was the base? What was the first layer of sound that you added?
Love.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's
I did like
sound.
that one yesterday. That's a good one. And then the other thing I like about your app is you can change the volume on one side and not the other. And I think that's interesting.
If you want to focus on the left side of your brain versus the right side of your brain, you can do that. And then let's try another combination. I'm gonna think if I remember.
Oh, I like that one.
Yeah, this one's the quantum calm.
Heart that one, will you?
I got you.
Oh, yeah.
So what do you feel? What is it?
For this, I remember listening to this one yesterday too. It's I feel like my shoulders immediately drop when I put one on that, is vibing with my brain. But for me, it's like I'm floating kind of. And the fact that you're right, you can still hear external stuff. So it's not like it's a blockout, but it does buffer any other sound. It really centers me, I feel like. And it brings the focus to inside of my mind instead of I'm one of those people where external noises can really get to me.
Yeah.
And so this is a perfect neutralizer where even yesterday, if I would take it off after, I wasn't as bothered by the other sounds around me because I felt like this was kind of bringing down that anxiety. And for me with ADHD, I definitely have, I can be not at neutral like you. I can get really, what's the word I want to use? Honestly pissed off. And so at the airport yesterday, I mean, there was 10 times probably where I wanted to just murder people. Then I would just put this, I mean, not really, but then I put this on and I'd be like, okay, good. I'm good. It
so
really
you can
does.
use it to calm you down.
Yeah.
Okay.
And for me, I know I was telling you earlier, the vibration is a part of it that calms me. It's not just the noise. It's the combination of you can feel the sound, not just hear it.
So have you felt anything like this before?
No, never. And I told you when I was first listening to some of the different frequencies, it was I could feel the effect when I was just listening. But the difference when you wear these is huge.
Yeah.
Because when I asked you, I was like, okay, I need a pair to try. I can't just be listening.
Yeah.
The second that I heard it through here, I was like, oh, this is a way different experience. I mean, the app is still amazing, but this takes it to the next level of how it feels,
For sure.
Okay. To wrap us up, I feel like, for one, we need to know where everyone should go. Obviously, they need to download the app, but where's the fastest place for them to buy the headphones? Is it just on the website?
Yeah, the website. If you Google High Frequency Highway, you'll find us.
Yep.
First link on there. And yeah, they're available. So.
Okay, tell me about what is top of mind for you right now. What stage are you at? What are you focused on? And what are you excited about right now?
Yeah. So we are scaling up our inventory. So getting more inventory in to meet the demand of the product going viral. And then I'm also focusing on a V2 version. So creating innovation in the space to where we can actually use your biomarkers to recommend even more precise frequencies. So you don't even have to think about it.
Cool.
A lot of people, they don't know exactly which frequency they need to be on in X, Y, and Z. So imagine just being able to put it on, it knows your heart rate, it knows other metrics, and then it can just select the frequency for you and then optimize it over time and learn more about your body systems and how your body reacts to certain frequencies. So, I think that's the future of, our platform and the future of wellness. So, yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, last question. how do you think success has changed for you over time? Like, how would you have defined success a couple years ago, and how does it maybe look today?
Yeah, I mean, I can just go back to like pre quote unquote awakening, right? And I was a normal jock, right? I was just trying to be a professional athlete, trying to make a lot of money. But now my mission is more based on like peace on earth and raising the frequency of the planet. And, when I was in Silicon Valley and I started this, people were like, Jay, like you can take anything viral. Like, why are you starting a frequency company? And I was like, because I can take anything viral. I don't want to just create something that is just the next consumer addicting thing that's not, elevating consciousness, elevating our evolution. And I think that's what I'm here for. I think that's what almost everyone's here for, to evolve, right? And I think a lot of solutions and innovations are coming out that aren't evolving us. They're making us more of a like shell mind, right? So yeah, that's kind of how my mission has transitioned.
I love it. That was a great change of not even that many years, but your whole mentality has kind of shifted into what matters. And I think that's awesome. Okay, we're going to take a selfie and then you're out of here.
All right, let's do it.
Thank you so much for coming on. I can't wait for people to try this themselves because, I mean, like I said, I could feel it, but experiencing it with the headphones.
Yeah, I'm glad you got to get your pair.
Thank you so much for coming in. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.